In Casa del Toro in the Spanish countryside lives Ferdinand, a calf completely different from the others. While the rest of his species engage in feuds of strength like adult bulls, Ferdinand is completely peaceful and refuses to fight, preferring to spend his time smelling flowers and talking to plants. One day, Ferdinand is watering a single flower that has grown in the middle of the arena when the winner's truck arrives on the scene, leaving the other calves extremely excited. Since he doesn't know what this is all about, Ferdinand asks them what this truck is, and Valiente explains that this is the vehicle that takes the strongest bull to become a star. Dreaming of the day they will become great bulls, the calves begin to argue among themselves about which one will be the champion of Casa del Toro, but while they dispute, Valiente knocks down Bones, who almost steps on the arena flower, leaving Ferdinand worried. When he realizes that the little bull is concerned about protecting the flower, Valiente threatens to crush the plant to force him to fight, but the calf refuses to enter a fight with him and starts protecting the object with his body. At this point, the bullfighter finally arrives at the observatory and the adult bulls enter the arena to decide who will be taken. Inside the arena, Ferdinand's father and Valente's father vie with each other, and after a while of vying, the bullfighter chooses to take Ferdinand's father. Before he leaves, the calf goes to his father and starts asking if there was something wrong with him not wanting to fight in the arena, but his father tries to reassure him by saying that when he grows up, he will be the biggest bull the arena has ever seen. Sad to see that not even his father understands him, Ferdinand says goodbye and starts walking back to the stable, but halfway there he sees Valiente crushing his flower and leaving. In the stable, Ferdinand spends several days waiting for his father to return as champion of the arena, until one night while an employee is cleaning the place, he hears the winner's truck and goes to the entrance to see his father, but finds the vehicle completely empty. Imagining that his father has been defeated, Ferdinand stands by mournfully when the employee who is cleaning the stable finally sees him and tries to lead him back to his place. In fear, Ferdinand runs out the door and out of Casa del Toro while being chased by the employees, but knowing that this is his only chance to live a different life, Ferdinand runs across the tracks and jumps into the carriage of a moving train. After hours of walking on the tracks, the train finally stops and Ferdinand gets off the wagon. Lost, the little calf begins to wander through the forest until he hears the barking of a dog and tries to escape, but ends up trapped and slips into the ravine. With the fall, Ferdinand ends up fainting, and the next morning he wakes up with a little girl who has come to visit him in the barn. At first, the little calf is afraid of Nina, but when he realizes that she also likes flowers, he feels safer and decides to trust her. Together with Nina, Ferdinand leaves the barn and explores the farm fields, smelling all the flowers he finds along the way. In this flowery paradise, Ferdinand spends his days playing with Nina and helping Juan with the farm chores, until after a few years, he becomes a colossal bull, but continues to live with his family as normal. As an adult, Ferdinand continues to help the farm produce flowers for the spring festival, but when the big day arrives, Juan tells Nina that Ferdinand can no longer go to the festival because he is too big. Sad that her father doesn't want to take the bull, Nina refuses to go to the event, but is eventually convinced by Juan, who suggests taking Paco, the family dog. After they leave, Ferdinand goes to the top of the hill and wonders whether he should disobey Juan or stay, and after some time of indecision, he finally decides to go to the flower festival, a classic event of the Spanish spring. When he arrives at the place, the bull starts sniffing the flowers while looking for Nina, scaring everyone who sees him. After some time walking around the place, Ferdinand finally finds Nina and starts walking to her, but halfway there, he gets his head caught in some clothes on the clothesline. And when he tries to get free, the clumsy bull ends up falling with his buttocks right on the sting of a bee. In extreme pain and unable to see because of the vest over his eyes, Ferdinand runs wildly through the place, leaving everyone terrified. In the midst of the confusion, he passes a balloon stand and a baby ends up getting stuck in his horn. Finding it all very amusing, the baby pulls the cloth out of Ferdinand's eyes. Ferdinand realizes that he is running towards a car and tries to stop, but the bull cannot stop in time and ends up hitting the vehicle, causing the baby to fly away and get caught in the string of flowers. To save him, the bull runs wildly after the baby, and in this way manages to prevent him from crashing to the ground. Now Ferdinand finally manages to calm down and stops running, but because of the chaos he has caused, everyone around him thinks he is aggressive and calls animal control, who arrive to try to catch him. When he sees the men, Paco goes to Ferdinand and tells him to run to the farm while he tries to distract them, but the humans ignore the dog and keep running after the bull. To escape, Ferdinand runs through the alleys until he enters a house to try to hide, but unfortunately for him, the house he enters is practically a museum of plates, full of extremely fragile ceramic and glass utensils. Even with his colossal size, Ferdinand tries to walk carefully around the place so as not to draw anyone's attention, but as he tries to stack the ceramics that are about to fall, the owner of the place ends up mistaking his tail for a feather duster and starts pulling him around the house while cleaning the dishes. But to the bull's misfortune, the old woman ends up wagging his nose while cleaning the place, causing Ferdinand to let out a sneeze so loud that it makes the little lady fly out the window, giving away her location. With Ferdinand cornered, the police officers arrest him and the animal control personnel put him in a transport cabin that will take him to Casa del Toro, but when she sees Ferdinand being taken away, Nina runs to him and tries to ask the officers to let him go, but obviously the officers ignore her and allow him to be taken away, leaving the girl in tears and despair. After spending the entire day awake, Ferdinand awakens during the night when he finally arrives at Casa del Toro. As soon as he sees the statue of the place, Ferdinand immediately recognizes where he is and panics, but ends up getting his horns stuck in the railing. Seeing the animal's agitation, Mr. Moreno, owner of Casa del Toro, asks his employees to bring the goat to try to calm it down. Suddenly, a very crazy goat named Lupe is thrown into the truck and starts talking to him, but since she doesn't stop talking for a second, she ends up making Ferdinand even more agitated. After a while of trying to get his horn loose, Ferdinand finally succeeds and rolls out of the truck, falling right on top of the goat. After getting up, Ferdinand helps Lupe stand up and asks her to help him, but the crazy goat thinks the bull is asking to be trained and starts to analyze him. Excited to start training him, Lupe goes into the arena to introduce her new student to the other bulls, but everyone recognizes Ferdinand as soon as they see him. While the other bulls are impressed by Ferdinand's size, Valiente appears out of nowhere and starts trying to intimidate him, just like when they were small. However, Ferdinand does not listen to the provocation and refuses to fight. After seeing his old colleagues again, Lupe takes Ferdinand to the barn where they spend the night sleeping, until in the middle of the night, 3 hedgehogs break into the place and steal their things. In the middle of the robbery, Lupe sees the 3 hedgehogs and starts offending them, causing a real species war. To stop the chaos and sleep peacefully, Ferdinand holds Lupe and allows the hedgehogs to carry his food, helping them to reach the window. When it is almost dawn, Ferdinand decides that he will return home no matter what it takes, and to do so, he leaves the stable and walks to the fence. But when he tries to pass the obstacle, he gets a shock that almost fries his brain. The moment Ferdinand falls to the ground, 3 horses appear and start laughing at his face. As soon as he sees them, Ferdinand thinks they can help and asks how to get through the fence, but the horses begin to offend him and say that if he tries to cross one more time, they will call for the humans. The next morning, Lupe wakes up before everyone else, and as she is leaving the barn, she hears the humans talking about El Primero coming to Casa del Toro. Excited, the crazy goat goes back to the stable and wakes up all the bulls to tell them the news, but in her excitement she ends up stepping on Ferdinand's tail and gets kicked so hard that she brutally crashes into the wall. At this point, Mr. Moreno goes outside to welcome the guest while his employees unleash the bulls. When he arrives at Casa del Toro, El Primero tells Mr. Moreno that he has come to choose the best bull for his last fight before retiring. When the workers finish preparing the bulls in the arena, El Primero goes to the stands and the men open the gate for the animals to leave, but Ferdinand refuses to enter the arena, and since he is in front of the others, he ends up blocking the passage. To clear the way, Valiente kicks Ferdinand's backsides, causing him to enter the arena. With the way clear, the other bulls also come in and start fighting among themselves, but one of the employees can't get out in time and begins to be chased by Machina, a weird bull that was created in a laboratory. As Machina charges the man with his horn, Valiente headbutts Ferdinand and calls him into a fight, but at that moment, Guapo arrives knocking Valiente out with a horn. Knowing that Guapo lacks self-confidence, Valiente stands up and begins to challenge him to show his full potential to El Primero, but Guapo ends up feeling too pressured and passes out in the middle of the arena. Concerned about his friend, Ferdinand runs to him to see if everything is okay, but when he does, he ends up getting in front of Bones, who hits Machina when he swerves, throwing the employee far away. Seeing the confusion in the arena, El Primero shuts down the bullfight and says that those animals are no good for the event, but after some insistence from Mr. Moreno, El Primero decides to give the bulls another chance, but says that if he doesn't get the champion animal, he will destroy Casa del Toro's reputation throughout the country, condemning the place to bankruptcy. On the way out of the arena, the other bulls begin to quarrel with Ferdinand for having embarrassed them all, but in the middle of their argument, they hear Guapo shouting outside and come out to see what is going on. The bull gets into the truck while celebrating for being chosen by El Primero, but when the truck leaves, Bones realizes that this is not the winner's truck, but the vehicle that takes him to the slaughterhouse. As night falls, Ferdinand is thinking about Nina and his farm when he starts to hear a strange sound. When he looks to the side, he sees that Bones is crying for Guapo and spends the night trying to comfort him. The next morning, Ferdinand comes out of the stable and finds El Primero watching the bulls train, but he can't stop thinking about Guapo in the slaughterhouse. Realizing that the bull is distracted, Lupe goes to him and tries to motivate him to train, but while she is talking, he sees that a bunny appears in front of the barrel that Angus wants to attack and runs to try to make him stop. Not understanding what Ferdinand is talking about, Angus keeps running towards the barrel. This forces Ferdinand to push him away. At high speed, Ferdinand tries to stop before he reaches the rabbit, but he cannot stop in time and must use his horns to avoid the small animal, who faints with fright. After falling on his horn into a barrel of water, Ferdinand sees the unconscious rabbit and runs to him to try to revive him. When he sees what his student has done, Lupe goes to Ferdinand and starts fighting with him to concentrate on the fight, but the bull keeps insisting that he doesn't like to fight. To try to change his mind, Lupe tells Ferdinand to look at the bullfight as a dance, but when they hear this, the trio of horses appear once again and start ridiculing the goat, saying that bulls can't dance. Determined to prove them wrong, Ferdinand approaches the fence and begins a supreme tap dance. Upon seeing Ferdinand's dance, the horses ridicule his movements and respond with a team dance step. When they finish, Angus sees that Ferdinand is alone against three and asks Lupe to regurgitate his harmonica so that he can dance too. The horses once again respond by dancing in a trio and finish by forming a heart with their bodies, while Ferdinand and Angus look on with blank faces. When it's the bulls' turn again, the hedgehogs turn on the music on the electric fence and Bones joins the battle doing break dance steps. Now in 3-on-3, the bulls and horses begin a street dance contest, but quickly Machina decides to enter the contest and calls the leader of the horses to a duel with his square backsides. With Machina in the fight, the bulls humiliate their opponents quite easily, and knowing they are losing, the horses start fighting among themselves, until they end up touching the fence and are electrocuted. After the battle, the bulls approach the water trough to celebrate their victory, but Valiente goes to them and reminds them that bulls that don't fight always go to the slaughterhouse. Knowing that this is not true, Ferdinand argues that outside of there they can be free to do whatever they want, but Valiente replies that if Ferdinand were really free, he would not have been sent back to Casa del Toro. Influenced by what Valiente said, Bones and the others return to practice and leave Ferdinand alone with Lepi. Along with her, the bull says that he will run away that night and that he will take her to meet Nina, leaving the goat quite excited. Thinking of how to escape, Ferdinand goes to the hedgehogs and asks for help to execute the plan, but according to them, the only way out is by passing through the house where the humans stay. Out of options, Ferdinand jumps out the window straight into the garage, but ends up falling right on top of El Primero's car that starts making noise. Upon hearing the sound, the employees walk to the garage and, to prevent Ferdinand from being caught, the hedgehogs start dancing to distract the humans. After the animals scare the staff away, Ferdinand walks silently through the house until he finds a picture of his father hanging on the wall, along with his horns. Looking further up, Ferdinand sees dozens of other pictures in horns on the wall, and comes to the conclusion that this is the fate of all bulls fighting in the arena. At this point, the hedgehogs manage to open the exit door, but Ferdinand decides to return to warn his friends that the arena is just another slaughterhouse, but Valiente refuses to believe him and pushes him out of the stable, challenging him to a fight. Seeing Valiente's situation, Ferdinand refuses to fight and tries to calm him down, but the bull refuses to listen and starts forcing him up until he breaks his horn. At this moment, El Primero, who was watching from the balcony, chooses Ferdinand to be his rival in Madrid, while Mr. Moreno takes Valiente to the slaughterhouse. Panicked that Valiente has been taken, Lupe says that they should get out of there as soon as possible, but Ferdinand says that he will only leave if everyone goes with him, including Valiente. Knowing that the horses will alert the humans when they see them outside, the hedgehogs lure the traitors into the stable and set a trap to trap them. With the horses out of the picture, Machina eats the high-tension wire from the fence and the bulls run to help secure the stable door. Now with the way clear, Ferdinand goes outside Casa del Toro and runs toward the slaughterhouse where he finds Valiente disappointed inside a pen. Determined to save him, Ferdinand removes the cell door and tries to convince him to escape, but Valiente says that is his destiny and refuses to leave. At that moment, Ferdinand hears Guapo calling for help inside the slaughterhouse and decides to try to save him, but when he gets there, he ends up passing through the infrared beam that activates the machines in the place. With Guapo about to be eliminated, Ferdinand runs after him and tries to stop the belt, but without success. At that moment, Valiente runs past him and puts an iron bar in the middle of the press, saving Guapo from becoming a hamburger. Still, the machines keep running and take Guapo away, but as they watch their friend being taken away, another hook passes by and catches their horn. Thus, the three are taken straight to an ice machine that freezes them and drops them onto a conveyor belt that leads to the garage. but the bulls speed up too much and end up outside the factory, straight into a garbage can. Together, they speed down the hill until they crash into the winner's truck, but all this noise ends up waking up the humans, forcing them to flee as soon as possible. To get out as quickly as possible, Lupe and the hedgehogs go into the driver's cab while the bulls go to the back. With the hedgehogs at the wheel, the animals prepare to flee Casa del Toro, but as they are passing through the gate, the rabbit once again gets in front of them and faints from fright, when he is almost run over, forcing Ferdinand to pick him up and put him in the back of the vehicle. While the humans drive after them, Machina takes advantage of the electricity he received when he ate the fence and rubs his paws together, making a kind of defibrillator that causes the rabbit to wake up instantly. After evading the humans, the animals finally arrive in Madrid, but after being stuck for hours in the city traffic, they are eventually caught up. When he sees the pursuers, Ferdinand has the idea to run away along the tracks as he did when he was younger. But they continue to be chased by the employees all the way to the station. As soon as they arrive at the place, Ferdinand helps one of the hedgehogs to get on a wagon to see where the train is, and in this way they discover that it has already departed. To try to reach the locomotive, the bulls join forces to push a manual wagon until it picks up enough speed to dock with the train, but realizing that the humans will continue after them, Ferdinand forces everyone to climb up and returns to stop the humans, but ends up being captured. With Ferdinand back, the officials take him to the arena in Madrid for the big event, but as reporters are covering the event, Juan ends up seeing the bull on TV and goes out with Nina to try to save him. When the big day arrives, a woman in the audience throws a flower as soon as El Primero enters the arena, but the self-centered man just throws the flower on the floor. At that moment, El Primero signals his men to open the door, freeing Ferdinand, who calmly enters the arena. Face to face with the bull, El Primero tries to draw it out, but when he realizes that Ferdinand doesn't want to fight, the bullfighter calls his men to pierce the animal with spears. While running from the humans, Ferdinand runs from one side of the arena to the other, while El Primero dodges him. In a moment of carelessness, the bullfighter's red cloth gets caught in the bull's horns, blocking his view. Without seeing, Ferdinand struggles from side to side, while El Primero tries to recover the muleta, making him feel provoked. After many attempts, the bullfighter finally manages to hold on to the cloth, but Ferdinand pulls back, which causes El Primero to fall right on top of him. With the bullfighter mounted on the animal, Ferdinand begins to struggle until he knocks him out of the arena, causing El Primero to be further humiliated. Furious, the bullfighter returns to the arena with two sharp spears ready to attack Ferdinand, but again the man is dodged by the animal. After being humiliated repeatedly by the bull, El Primero finally manages to hit Ferdinand, who, enraged, grabs the bullfighter and prepares to attack him, but when he realizes he is stepping on that flower the woman threw, he remembers who he really is and finally calms down, releasing El Primero. At this point, the bullfighter slowly walks away and Ferdinand is left smelling the flower, but soon El Primero returns with a sword and prepares to eliminate him, but when Ferdinand sits down and refuses to fight back, the entire audience begins to ask El Primero to let the bull live. Won over by the audience, the man greets Ferdinand and leaves the arena. With the end of the dispute, Nina invades the place and finally catches up with Ferdinand, who is greeted by flowers. At that moment, Valiente and the other bulls arrive to help Ferdinand, but they immediately realize that the event is over and that the big bull of the flower has managed to win. After the arena battle, Mr. Moreno gives up Casa del Toro and gives Lupe, Ferdinand and the others to live with Nina, allowing them to experience love and freedom for the first time.